Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Arwin, trying to get in during my introduction, 10th Man, Adam Meakin, Neil, who else? Miss Brian's Logic, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Hello.
Good morning.
Buonasera.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, one and all. Good to have you all. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve or the curve of the Earth? Let's see some enthusiasm.
Yes. Yes.
No.
I had a yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Adam.
Okay. Can I ask you to go to Master B?
No.
I said I'd give up, right? But if I could just quickly share these. So
Yeah, go ahead.
it's full confirmation. Okay, so first slide, obviously they've attacked me. I spelt the word lose incorrectly. So a number of repetitive tweets pointing out that I'd spelt the word lose wrong. So I've said so funny when all that keeps your worldview together is correcting a spelling mistake. Reply from Piper Australis. When your flat Earth friends, were your flat Earth friends supportive when you told them you had finally discovered refraction? I said, nah, they just pissed themselves laughing at you guys thinking the horizon is Earth curve. Response, well, it is. It actually is. So I've had to respond to this, Geordie G guy. Says, you truly are the gift that keeps on giving. His response. Third slide. Well, I'm just trying to educate you, but that is kind of impossible if you decide to be an ignoramus. Again, the visible horizon is caused by Earth curvature. When you look at the horizon, you are looking at Earth curving down in relation to. Now, please laugh a little more. So I have. Stop it. Please, my sides are hurting. Final slide. Okay, here we go again. When you look at the horizon, you are looking at Earth curvature. I've given a general clown thumbs up there. So this seems to be their purveying worldview. And they've doubled down on. And yeah, Earth curve is the horizon.
Meanwhile, we only have one horizon, and the horizon in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth, curve, calculator, marked with an X, and labelled horizon, is geometric, with a straight line tangent to it, in order to derive R and claim it's a physical hill blocking your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And if the horizon was Earth curve, at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, then you could never see beyond that physical limitation at that height, at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, which is where the physical obstruction, formerly known as Earth curve, resides. Now, in the Black Swan, we can demonstrate that the horizon is beyond those limitations of a physical hill getting in your way at a particular distance. The Black Swan shows the horizon beyond its geometric Earth curve claimed limitations. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve.
They just ignore the Black Swan, Adam?
I don't think they can cope with the black swan yet, mate. I've just been firming up the confirmation in their worldview that it is. And after such positive affirmation that it is, how do you then cope with the black swan? Other than go, refraction. I don't know how else they're going to deal with it. Or if they even can.
Oh, let's just cover that.
Well,
Hold on, let's just cover that. So if you bark refraction in response to what I just said in regards to if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles and every distance to that physical horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the distance to the horizon, as on screen, marked with an X with a massive void sticker on it, is beyond those geometric limitations with a straight line tangent to that hill that blocks your view, according to Earth curve claims, then it's not Earth curve. Response, refraction. Well, then you haven't got a straight line to a physical hill anymore. Then the horizon isn't blocking boats and buildings at a set distance calculable in the maths on screen with a big void on it, because you have a bent line moving the horizon with the weather. How can you then claim that you've got a physical obstruction with a certain feet and inches value at the hill getting in the way called Earth curve if the hill itself is refracted beyond the things it's supposed to block? It's absurd. Further to that, the mathematics itself requires a tangent point to derive the R value in the first instance. If you haven't got a tangent, you haven't got geometry. And if you're bending that straight line, then you're bending the geometry. An impossibility when you require a tangent to do the geometry. A straight line to Earth curve. You haven't got it anymore. Hence the sticky wicket that the current competitors with our claims in regards to the fact you need a flat plane to do celestial navigation will talk about their dip angle correction to the physical geometric Earth curve horizon with a straight line to correct an angle, not a bent one. Further to that, you all claim that the light comes in from these lights in the sky parallel. Is that bent? You dicks don't understand how your own arguments contradict themselves and undo the very model that you're claiming. If the line is bent like on screen now, then you haven't got a hill in the way with a straight line to claim it.
Well, it's even worse than that. It's actually a lot worse. The fact that they claim 7/6R, the fact that they claim, I don't know who that was, the fact that they claim 7/6R, right? And they claim it as a constant. This is not something that happens now and again. 7/6R is a mathematical constant within their model. So you are never ever seeing the geometric globe. You're only ever seeing a 7/6R representation of the globe. And what that means is, number one, 60 nautical miles per degree, right, gives you 80 statute miles and not 69. 80.5 statute miles and not 69. That's number one. Number two, it means that all the observations to Polaris, all the elevation angles to Polaris, even though they can't get elevation angles from a curved baseline, the point is that their whole model is based on their R value, and their R value is based on all the elevation angles to Polaris, right? All the horizontal elevation angles to Polaris. That's where the R value comes from. That's what it's derived from between the GP of Polaris and the equator line. That means if they're claiming a refracted horizon and it's refracted constantly, not like today it is and tomorrow it's not. No, it's always a refracted position. That means that there is no R value, there is no globe, and there is no heliocentric model. If they're getting their elevation angles to Polaris from a refracted horizon, that means orthographically, which is what their maths, all their maths are orthographic, but orthographically then, the size of their globe will not match, mathematically will not match Polaris, even with Polaris having parallel light rays, being a huge massive star in our model, having parallel light rays, it will not match that, and it will not match the sun in shadows. So claiming 7/6R absolutely destroys all the geometry of the globe. Every bit of geometry connected to the sphere out and all parts of heliocentrism after that is destroyed by the claim of 7/6R.
Welcome
to destroys the very R value.
Welcome to the cutting edge of flat Earth. If you're new here, this is it. This is as sharp as it gets. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Hold on. Did that guy say that he was trying to educate Adam, or did Adam say he was trying to educate him?
No, he said he was trying to educate Adam about how the horizon's Earth curve, the commonly held conception of the Western world. He thought he would be educating Adam, even though everybody was taught that from basically birth.
Well, therein lies the problem. The wrong person's trying to educate.
Yeah, but you've got to give them credit, the plucky little souls.
Well, they suffer from the same problem that Neil suffers from, no offence, Neil. They think that if they can convert Adam and convince Adam of their worldview, as opposed to the physical evidence that they could possibly provide, then they'll have a better grounding in their own belief. Well, sometimes when you want to convert others into the idea of flat Earth or ask how the progress is going, Neil, the same thing applies to you. You're under the misapprehension that converting others to your worldview is somehow going to help the grounding that you're standing on. It doesn't.
I think it's a beautiful thing Adam did with this guy. He admits that the horizon is Earth curvature. One day it's 10 miles out. The next day it's 32 miles out. Another day it's 5 miles out. That's the kind of wobbly Earth that they want.
Well, the kind of Earth that they need to get an R value from is the one on screen with a straight line to a physical tangent point marked at C with a 90-degree angle to give them the R value by way of the triangle that it forms from the top of the height of the mountain that was measured with a flat plane. So the height A to, is it B? Yes, A to B. That height was acquired by measuring elevation angles to the mountain from a flat plane, parallel with the line at the top of the screen. So that line was what gave him the height. From the point he's got the height, he can go up to A and measure C, after then assuming that the ground is curving away when he just measured it flat to get the height. Further to that, he must have a straight line to C to get R. So if you bend this line, refraction! Really, how are you getting R? This is how it's done. So Al-Biruni is claimed to measure R. Not derive or calculate, measure R. Notice how this diagram of the claim to be measurement of R is done with Al-Biruni seeing the side of his own head at A. Because we're not standing at this mountain looking down at a horizon, we're in, as Brian described, an orthographic view, looking at the side of our own head and the target, the horizon in this example, with the horizon not really looking very much like a horizon, looking like an orthographic representation of a single point, as opposed to a line running horizontally across your view, which is what would have been presented to Al-Biruni if he was real and was at the top of this mountain after measuring the mountain flat to go up it and then assume that the measurement he just took is wrong because he's going to curve the ground he just measured as flat, to have a straight line to the horizon called Earth curve. That would be this hill getting in the way, according to his now assumption that violated his first measurement. So if you're going to assume that you can get an R value to assume Earth has a curvature after measuring it flat, then you're going to need a straight line to that horizon, not a bent one. Because if you do, you mess up your entire geometry, globe-believing idiots. Further to that, to have this idea and notion of sphericity means that you've utilised the flat plane that Al-Biruni used to measure the height of the mountain, but to measure the stars. And that would make this curve the curve of the protractor you measured it from, with the angle coming from the R point, the centre of the protractor, not a globe Earth with a mountain perched on top of it, because your measurement will be coming from the centre of it when you measure the stars, because you need angles. And that's where the globe's been derived from. A flat plane with a sphere of the heavens. Not a globe, but a flat plane. And it was mathematically required to give you a globe.
Nathan, can you go to Master B? I got a newer orthographic funny picture for you to look at.
The one with the submarine?
No.
The boat,
It's not
rather.
submarine. Yeah.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning,
Hey,
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
That was a lot of salt, and that is the cutting edge. Well done.
What I find funny about that last Al-Biruni clip is that they put a curve at the base of the mountain. Like they're putting the mountain onto a curve, giving the mountain a curved base. Like they're already pre-assuming that there's a curved baseline underneath the mountain, and there's no 7/6R in that diagram.
There can't be. It wouldn't be a triangle. He can't measure a triangle. He can't derive R if he's got a bent line to the horizon. And they have. It's 7/6. Oh, what's that? R? Where did that come from? Oh, Al-Biruni when he measured it straight. So you're bending the line that was measured straight to give you the R, to give you the value to bend it with. It's a paradox. It's nonsensical. Right, I got your dot. It's black and white and highlighted.
R doesn't seem very useful if immediately from the jump you're putting it into another equation and then changing it. That's a little weird.
Well, Abstrused went through this yesterday. If you go back to yesterday's show, he detailed it quite succinctly in terms of how they're just expanding. Refraction in their terms might have the word refraction in it, but actual terrestrial refraction is just a way of inflating the size of the ball. That's all it really does.
Yeah, that's why refraction is such a beautiful concession on their part, not even realizing it. Because as soon as you say 7/6R, you're not talking about refraction. Now you're not talking about optics or perspective. You're just changing the ground. Why are you doing that? How is you changing the ground or the size of the ground, proving that the ground was the size that you said it was? It's insanity.
Right.
How curved?
Hello, John. Let's just say hello to John, and then we'll go to 10th. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, how curved can a line be to get an angle from it?
It can't be at all, ever. It won't form an angle if it's curved. That's an impossibility. Right, let's get to this slide, because it's been up for a while.
Yeah, as you can see here, and I owned a boat, and I went on the Pacific Ocean many times. I never saw what they're trying to show me here, because I saw boats coming at me, going sideways to me in every direction. But you can see there's a person with a sextant on top of the bridge there, and it's showing an orthographic view of him taking an angle measurement of a star, and I'm watching him doing it. And see that curvature of the ball with the ocean there? That is never seen. That never happens. Everything below that A line doesn't happen. You never see this. This is so funny to me because, it's always forward and the globe is falling away from you. But if someone's watching you do it, it's also right to left. And now they show right to left, the globe falling away. Well, has anyone seen this before? In reality, I mean.
Well, you can't. You can't. The measurement's being taken again in orthographic view. So we're seeing the boat that you're on taking the measurement from. That's not going to happen. This is not a view of. This is not a view of our world. This is not a view that you get from the boat. And you looking at the boat with a guy with a set of binoculars on isn't ever going to yield this result, because this isn't a possibility to see. It's not a view that you can get. If you're on the boat, you look at the horizon, and the horizon presents itself, as the name implies, it's derived from the word, horizontally in your field of view. What you don't see is your own boat, your own head, the horizon as a single point on your right-hand side. None of this is stupid.
But Nathan, it's in the book about navigation, so it must be true.
So what, does the book also say, get out in a dinghy, get sufficiently far enough away from your boat that you can see the curve of the earth from left to right, and then look at the guy on the boat and mentally draw a line out from his position, like it's your position, to the curve of the earth that's falling away, with the giant hill that falls away from the boat. It's absolutely absurd.
What, that doesn't check out?
No, chocolate.
Yeah, checked out.
Right, can we move on? Any evidence of axial rotation? It didn't get covered. Any evidence we spin? There's a claim Earth's spinning. There's a claim we're moving 1,000 miles an hour at the edge of the Earth on the equator.
Well, we're moving.
1,000 miles an hour if you're on the equator. So they claim. There's no evidence for this, though, as far as I'm concerned. There's a claim that there's Coriolis effect as the evidence, but that doesn't pad out.
How are you going to qualify a Coriolis effect without a radius value?
Pan out. My bad. Sorry, what did you say? I was more concerned with correcting my incorrect use of pad versus pan. What did you say, John?
I said, how can you qualify Coriolis without a radius value?
You can't. You've got to have an axis to give you the radius, to give you the rotation rate in radians. Radians? Radius? No? you're going to need that R value if you're going to claim that we've got an axis to rotate about.
I'm still trying to figure out how we could be moving if I'm standing still.
Because you got a cool story that tells you that you're moving, and you're just supposed to accept that and believe it.
Wait,
And the,
my teacher.
and the only validation they can give you is to look at other things that are moving and tell you that that's not actually what's happening. It's actually you.
No, my teacher did show me in school when I said, how can I be moving if I'm standing still? If we're spinning, wouldn't we fly off? She took a bucket of water and whirled it around her head real fast and no water came out. And said, because of gravity.
Neil, it's the same trick that they're doing with the picture that we just showed.
Hold on, just one sec. Just one sec. So, your teacher was a concaver?
Bucket
See,
Earth,
that
baby.
way, right?
Well, that's what she showed you. She showed you a concave Earth demonstration, did she not?
They showed you the
because
bucket model.
I said, but the water's on the inside, and the water on Earth, you're telling me is on the outside. And get to the back of the class, you disruptor.
Didn't like you challenging a concave worldview, it seems.
Yeah,
I mean,
you were too hung up on details, man.
That's what it is.
But even her worldview that was concave with the bucket and you in the inside of it, you know, realistically, she's trying to portray a concave Earth with you on the inside of it, which also is derived from the Haversine formula. Both concave and globe Earth models are essentially cut from the same rock. Identical, in fact. They're both conversions from a flat Earth. They're both conversions from the celestial sphere over a flat plane model. That's where they've come from. So if you're a concaver and believe that, you know, you've got you on the inside of a concave surface looking in at the stars at the centre, then your models come from a flat Earth also. Same as both.
Did you say they were cut from the same rock?
Yeah, the concave model and
those
globe Earth
rocks
model have
cousins?
come from the same exact conversion. The Haversine formula, when you look at the celestial sphere, and it's got the sphere as a large circle or large sphere on the outside, and then inside that you've got a smaller globe Earth, and then inside that you've got a flat Earth with you taking the angle from the centre. Well, it doesn't matter if you project it up to the inside and then say that you're standing on the inside looking back down at the place you just measured the angle from, or project it to the outside. Either way, they both come from the same exact origin.
Neil, when you brought up the bucket question and she sent you to the back of the class, did you notice if her face turned pale?
Boom. Shout out to Theo Megawarty, who says terror, Earth, refracted, broken, TR equals broken Earth. Is that so? Thank you very much for the super chat.
Yeah, I was just asking that question, Nathan, because I was wondering if the rocks were cousins. They're cut from the same rock.
We've covered that story
Neil,
2 or 3 times. We've covered the globe Earth rocks as people, or our origin story, several times in the last month. Do we really want to do that again? Maybe we'll ask the chat. Do you want to hear the story? Do we want a Jackanory? You in the chat, you decide. Type 1 if you want Jackanory for Dr. Becky's. Was it Dr. Becky?
No, it wasn't. There was an
Michelle Thaler.
Michelle Thaler, my bad. So Michelle Thaler said that we are cousins with rocks. If anybody wants that story, type 1. If you're like, no, we've heard it too many times in the last month, type 2. So 1 if you want the story of rocks being our cousins and how that comes to be.
I want to know about my ancestors.
Well, we'll find out from the chat if they want a story time or not. We'll find out if they want Jackanory.
Real quick.
Go on.
Do you want the audio clip real quick? I could post it. We could actually hear her say it.
Right, it's level pegging 1s and 2s at the moment. I'm slightly 1s ahead. So, yeah, dig it out. Yeah, 1s are definitely ahead. Looks like we're getting Jackanory.
People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw their cousins.
Okay, so
That's a good one.
Yeah, and he was without sin throw his first cousin.
don't disparage the royal family like that. Outrageous. Okay, right. So the reason she's asserting that you've got our cousins being rocks is because the origin story for us in the heliocentric world is from the Big Bang. Well, you have a massive explosion with everything being thrown out, but then through gravitational accretion, everything starts to coalesce in various different pockets. You've got an uneven distribution of mass, which bends the time and space in this fourth dimensional region, and that causes gravitational accretion through way of bending geodesics in space-time, making the mass fall in upon itself and then coalesce. So gravitational accretion takes place. Now, if you've got a huge amount of gas that all coalesces, it may form a star if it becomes dense enough. Now, if that star's supermassive, there's a good chance that it will burn bright and fast and live fast and die young. And when it does so, it will implode upon itself, according to the heliocentric origin stories, and eventually form the elements of life in the heart of the dying star. So as it collapses in upon itself, it becomes heavier and heavier and heavier, and the fusion reactions become more and more complex as they form more and more complex elements, right down to gold and platinum, right before it explodes out, distributing these precious heavy metals and things that we absolutely require in our body to function out into the world. And then through the story of lightning in a swampy pond, we get life, and that life has come from the fact that we have this complex mix of these rocks and metals and elements and all the rest of it that have been formed in the hearts of dying stars. So that is why when you pick up a rock and toss it across to skim the ocean, just bear in mind that they are your cousins. And that story is true because they made it up themselves.
It's based on dwarven cosmology.
Dwarven?
Didn't you know that? There's even a scene in Lord of the Rings, the movie, about how some people thought that the dwarves were just sprouted out of the rock because they couldn't identify the females because they were also wearing beards, right? So it's kind of dwarven cosmology to think that you're distantly related from rocks.
The other way
Sorry, it's a
around.
bit of a stretch.
No.
way
Let's
around
just
that
correct
one.
Darwin. No, it's the other way around. I used to think that when I was a kid, when I was watching Red Dwarf, until you figure out where the origins come from. You go to A Brief History of Time, and there's all of the narrative plucked straight from it in terms of what's happening in space, according to pseudo-Ramonian for space-time, and all of the effects that they describe after observing lights in the sky, or the lack thereof, and giving them names, and then creating little stories around them. And from those stories, you can create narratives that are, you can suspend disbelief beyond the suspension of disbelief that is created in those narratives. So you've got a world of fantasy at your fingertips with certain lore already made for you. So it makes the story writing part a lot easier. So when you say, well, the dwarves were born out of the rocks, well, no, that shortcut is just cutting out a chunk of that story that Michelle Thaller's relying upon when she says our rocks are cousins. And she's done the same thing, hasn't she? She's just taken that shortcut, gone from A, which is we are in existence and have precious metals in our systems that are required, to D, which was, or start the other way around, from D, which is us with the rocks and metals, to A, which is where they, according to her, began, in the hearts of dying stars. Well, that shortcut without the in-between story that I gave is the same as dwarves being literally born out of rocks if you, in the story, just cut out the middle section and suddenly you have an interesting plot point that almost has a lore behind it in terms of the logic. And that's demonstrated by Michelle Thaller actually saying it. Not just a plot point. They got it from heliocentrism. They just cut out the in-between. They cut out the B and C of it. Next thing you know, you've got people born out of rocks, like we are claimed to be.
And it all came from the Vatican.
Yep. This is all a spin-off of some other bloody religion. No offence to all you Christians.
Correct. Well, they said Peter was the rock of the Roman Catholic Church, but they were wrong about that.
Hey, Adam,
So I got.
sorry.
Sorry, Brian. Yeah, if you want, Nathan, real quick, Brian. I'm sorry. Well, if you want, there are 2 short clips in Master B.
Much of the ancient stardust is sucked into the sun, never to be seen again. It's planets.
I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
She said it.
There's no
I
such
like
thing
that.
in my world as life, really. That we're very complicated rocks. You know, we're a chemical reaction that got complex enough to become conscious. There's no such thing in my world as life, really, that we're very complicated rocks.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Should we let
Contextualized
that-
it perfectly. Good timing, Chocolate. Thank you.
Should we let that comment slide since we're rocks?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't pan out for the heliocentric model.
Oh, gosh.
I got that one, Nathan.
Boom. So, any evidence of axial rotation, is that's what this is all about?
Hang on.
Just ignore mine. Just ignore mine. I got that one,
But
Nathan.
Nathan's, yours is good, but Nathan's had that subtle undertone, and
Yeah.
you got it or you didn't, you know.
I'm just having fun. Don't worry about it.
I would like Adam to ask these bozos he's talking to online where their heliocentric model Big Bang originated. See what answers they get. Because I would say absolutely none of them are going to say George's Lemaitre in the Vatican.
I'm no longer going to ascribe this to the priest that actually came up with the stories. You've got to be joking. That sort of stuff is like garlic to a vampire. Or crucifix to a vampire, right? That's what that is. No, definitely not. No, they don't want to admit the origins. I mean, they always appeal to their maths, right? Maybe someone should be going back to Red's rhetoric with what we're currently going through. Hey, Reds! Yeah, about that utilisation of the R value you assumed. Yeah, you know, we've been asking where you got it. Yeah, we found out. You got it from a flat Earth. Oh, wow, where's Red's rhetoric? He's all into the maths, isn't he? Yeah? Have a sine formula. Yeah? Well, what's that being derived from? Flat Earth. So you need a flat Earth for the angles. Maybe someone needs to get onto Red's rhetoric about the elevation angle argument and ask him the very straightforward question we ask here almost daily. How'd you get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline? If Earth's a sphere with a curved Earth radius value and a curved Earth falling away from your feet at 8 inches per mile squared, how'd you get an elevation angle? Oh, you don't? You get it from a flat Earth like the people doing celestial navigation do? Yeah, we know. Earth's flat. It has to be flat. You can't get an angle if it isn't.
Could I ask?
If I could, Brian, I'd like to politely decline your request of trying to convince them that all of this is a Catholic Jesuit plot. I haven't got the time nor the inclination for that one, mate. It was hard enough getting a...
Well, what about this, Adam? This is the one I was thinking about earlier. What about asking them, can you get your correct latitude using the globe's geometric horizon and Polaris with a marine sextant at sea? See what they say.
That's just asking, but that's just asking if they can get an elevation angle from a curved baseline, isn't it?
Well, no. The whole point of it is that if they say yes, you can, then you can point out no. You get your correct latitude from what they claim to be a refracted horizon, and then leave them at that. Because and say you can work out the rest, and just leave them off because they're going to be probably a year trying to work out what the hell that meant. What it means is that the globe doesn't exist. Because if your latitudes, if you look at every globe in every classroom, just show them a picture of a globe in a classroom globe or an antique globe. Show them a picture of the globe, all the latitude lines on it. But you're not using that surface to get your latitude. So how could you get your correct latitude with a refracted globe, a globe that's bigger than that globe? How could you get your correct latitude off of an horizon that's claimed to be part of a bigger globe? It all doesn't work.
They can't, but they couldn't get the angle in the first place. You've got to concede this or I'm going to hold you to task, generally speaking.
No, I know they can't. No, but see, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. The whole point is, like, for this, I don't even need to ask them that. Because as soon as they admit that they get the correct latitude off a refracted horizon, or they try and state it's geometric, you can show them it's not geometric. It's not a geometric horizon. It's what you call to be a refracted horizon, and that's what you get your correct latitude off of. So you can't use the globe to get your correct latitude. Means there is no globe. All the globe's radius value comes from the same origin as the latitudes, which is Polaris and observations to Polaris, flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. If you can't use the globe's geometric horizon to get your correct latitude, it means the globe and heliocentrism does not exist.
Yeah, that was my segue last time to try to get the answer to the next housekeeping question. We're still on number one. Just point that out. Oh, no, technically true, because this is elevation angle measurement to Polaris. we can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. We don't need to ask the question. But what about axial rotation? We did actually cover that too, didn't we? What about the R value? Any evidence of the R value?
Well,
I think we've smashed that.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying I think we've smashed that with what Brian's just said. And I love the 7/6 for trying to use the horizon. But I think we've smashed that as well in the first bit, the second bit, and the third, because all of these are independent methods of destroying R. As a side consequence, what Brian said, what we were talking about with regards to the horizon, any evidence of a physical geometric horizon, they're all destroying it, aren't they? So, no, put simply.
Any evidence?
Exactly, because... sorry,
on,
one
Brian.
second, Nathan. Just to add in a bit, because the audience may not... I don't know if all of the audience are actually getting this. You can use the reality C horizon, and you can take an angle to Polaris, right, and get your correct latitude using the reality C horizon from a boat at sea with a marine sextant, right? You will always get 69 statute miles for every 60 minutes of degree, which are 60 nautical miles. 1 degree will always give you 69 statute miles on the surface of Earth in reality, using the reality C horizon. For the globe, they need you to use the geometric horizon for 60 nautical miles per degree to work, and for their observations to Polaris to fit heliocentrism and fit the globe Earth, they need to use the geometric horizon of the globe.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah. Can I just drop something again? Just want to drop something in, Brian. I'm really sorry to break up your flow. Just want to ask Rufy, how's that geometric horizon working out for you, buddy? You carry on, Brian.
Yeah, they're using they're using what they claim is a 7/6R refracted. Well, it's more than 7/6R, because it's often infinite over 6R. They've claimed, and other things.
Yeah, Rufy claimed it once, didn't you, Rufy? Infinite over R refraction, right? Always refraction. How's that geometric horizon?
The point is that they are never working with the geometric surface of the globe they claim exists, which means that 60 nautical miles per degree will never ever work on their model and get them 69 statute miles. And their globe then consequently will never match the sky, never match the observations to the sky, never match anything to do with Polaris or latitudes. None of them can exist. Latitudes can't exist if we're on a globe and the horizon is refracted. Latitudes can't exist. You'll never get your correct latitude because you will never have a geometric baseline.
We tried to explain this to them.
Even if it's a curved baseline.
We tried to explain this to them in 2020. We tried to make it clear to them. You understand that by refracting the horizon, you destroy your globe claim. It's based on that geometry. It's based on the geometric horizon. And they just carried on for 2 straight years barking refraction at us, leaving people like Ruhif in a very tricky position when they want and need a geometric horizon and haven't got one anymore.
But exactly, and that's
even worse than that. It left people saying, "Look, there's a horizon at 1.2 miles away in the water in the Black Swan," or asking us, "Why would you expect to see this horizon?"
But that's why I'm attacking the 7/6R, because I've had enough of hearing that it's refracted as a hand wave and then try and move away from it, because that's what they do.
I can add another quote. Nobody's claiming we'll see physical geometry. That was Planar Walk. Yeah? Nobody's claiming that we'll see a physical geometric horizon. That's Earth curve that they need. Planar Walk and AB Science. Both of them made the basically exact same statement, which is no one's claiming we'll see physical geometry, end quote. Planar Walk. AB Science in that regard. So we've got numpties from their own side. Tim Osman. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, right? These numpties are telling you in a concise way what we were barked refraction for 2 straight years. They've summed it up. Nobody's claiming we'll see physical geometry. Right. Well, then your nautical mile measurements won't work anymore. Not that you could get the angle measurement to take them with, but ultimately speaking, those maths must match the geometry. And if you bend that line, you break the globe claim. They didn't get it 2 years ago. They won't get it now. They're dumb. You're dumb.
It's such a sick concession, right? Nobody expects to see physical geometry. Oh, okay. So what the hell's blocking those boats and buildings in the distance?
Not Earth curve.
Would that not be physical?
Not Earth
curve. That would be optical then. Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, they've only got one thing in their list. Earth curve is the only physical claim to be blocking anything ever in the distance. That's the only claim, because you can't have anything else in that claim. 7/6R refraction bends the light with respect to that horizon, because you're trying to prove it. It's at sea, back to Al-Biruni. Here he is claiming to be measuring the physical geometry of Earth. You can't bend that line. You haven't got any geometry to claim anymore. That's your Earth curve. Right, I'm just going to do a few shout-outs to some super chatters. So, shout out, wow, there's a whole bunch of them. To Unisox Femish, Sasha, thank you very much indeed. It says, we can get elevation angle on a curved surface if elevation is made by complicated rocks. Where is radius even complicated rocks are confused? Yeah, indeed, Sasha. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Also, Chronicles of the Unconvinced says, how can you imagine playing chess with an anti-flat earther? You put them in checkmate, and they reply, you don't understand. Right, indeed. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, the price of Adam super chats and says, Globe-ers come out to play. Indeed. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. And also, Sensual Goat, who says, congratulations on reaching 24,000 subscribers, and shout out to Mick West. He tried his best. Thank you very much for the super chats, everybody. Really appreciate all of the support. And yeah, good. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, do so now, and hopefully we'll get to 25,000. That'd be wonderful. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Just before you move on, Nathan, I just want to say this would be a fantastic time for us to have Rumpus's 99% done refraction presentation. Sorry.
I don't think so. He's just a liar. His 99% refraction calculation included a physical geometric limitation to the Isle of Man in that calculation, something he later lied about on 3 separate occasions when put to the facts that he claimed he had a physical Earth curve blocking the Isle of Man, and how much refraction had brought the Isle of Man back from beyond that physical limitation he was calculating, and then lied about. What's he going to do? Which one's he going to claim? The one he lies about, it being a physical obstruction at the Isle of Man? Or the one he says he doesn't lie about when it comes to the refraction he always says is applied to the horizon when he's claimed it blocked the Isle of Man? Because he's a liar.
Oh, I know he's a liar, but that's why. But I would like to have, because all of his diagrams has to show at least 7/6R, and even more than 7/6R. So we'd have a field day tearing his diagrams apart and his claims apart. Field day.
Probably why he never presented it.
Because everyone wants to see him tore apart.
Probably why he never presented it.
Oh, I have no doubt it's why he never presented it.
He'd just have to lie more than he already has had to do and been caught out doing. So Rumpus is a proven liar. That's what you got to do. You've got to be a liar to lie about the globe, because that's essentially what you're doing when you decide to try and claim that you've got a globe Earth surface and a physical horizon that's a hill in the way. Like on this screen here. Location of the geometric horizon was what was blocking the Isle of Man. But then when it's oil rigs with the horizon behind, suddenly it's not a geometric limitation with the geometry required to do Earth claims. Suddenly it's a bent line that doesn't give you geometry, that you can't derive an R value from, that you can't get a physical horizon to give you R, to give you refraction, to claim it's bent. That's what the Black Swan does. It leaves you all in a terrible position where you've suddenly got to lie about your very essence of your claim, which is that the horizon's Earth curve. On screen right now, Black Swan. If the horizon was Earth curve, it'd be blocking these here oil rigs. It's not. You don't have hills move beyond the thing they're supposed to block. If Earth's got a hill in the way, it's in the way. It isn't.
Can I address that bit with, Neil mentioned it earlier, and sometimes we can skip over the funny, but it's probably more impactful to them. Even if I grant them 7/6R, and I take the Black Swan image, I give them 7 over 6R, that gives them an R value of 4 and a bit thousand instead of 3959. When we look at the black swan image and we take their positive assertion that the horizon is Earth curve, they have to come to the devastating conclusion that if that is the case, their new R value is 250,000 miles. That is the devastating blow, and what that image in the black swan does. You are going to reify it, and they have. They've doubled down on it, and that's the consequence. You can have 7 over 6R, but realistically, you're closer to Ruth is infinite R, aren't you, to bending into a flat plane? Because it's the only thing that's going to get you anywhere near that required R value if you're going to reify the horizon as a leading edge of a ball.
How would they then...
in the modus...
No, go ahead, John. Go ahead. Well, I'll just shout out Unistox Remy. He says, you want to prove a globe? Don't show anything physical. Thanks for the super chat. Go ahead, John.
In the modus tollens, right, it says if the Earth is a sphere of a certain radius, right?
Yeah, if Earth's a sphere, radius 3959.
Well, if Earth was a sphere of radius 3959, we wouldn't be able to measure elevation angles to assert the Earth is a sphere of radius 3959.
That's correct.
That's right. Or as I like to say, if the Earth was actually a globe, then the globe model would have not been able to be constructed the way it is. It only works because the Earth is flat.
On that last super chat with the chess, right? If you were playing that chess game with like the flat Earth, and you went checkmate, you go no, that queen's not actually in that position. It's refracted and it's on a different square.
Maybe.
Like, I don't ever expect them to concede, and especially when you debate them. It's just for the people watching, because they're never, ever, ever going to accept that they're wrong, ever.
But it's not that they're wrong. It's that they've been fooled.
Them to know that they're conceding, because they are conceding. They
Absolutely.
just don't know they are.
They are. They're right. Half the time when they're conceding, like back in 2020, when they started saying refraction, that's their concession. So not Earth curve blocking the Isle of Man. Then that was their concession. They just didn't realise they're too dumb. But that aside, they are never going to concede because they don't want to admit to being duped. That's all it is. Pride.
I just want to state that the 7 over 6R radius is 4,618.83 miles. That's the radius with 7 over 6R. So the normal radius is 3,959 miles, or just under that, and the 7 over 6R radius, as a basic, is 4,618.83 miles.
But to have the black swan on screen now, the radius would measure 120-something thousand miles.
250,000, the distance.
Oh, is it more? Oh, yeah, it's beyond the moon, isn't it?
The globe.
That's right, it's about 250,000 miles. So rather than 3959 or just over 4,000, we're talking 250,000 mile radius. To have this image on screen makes sense.
Yeah, it's still a black swan. That's what I'm saying, even if, because you would still expect the hill in the way at somewhere around 1.82 miles, wouldn't you? But we're at 10 plus, aren't we? And we're being generous there, aren't we? So to give us the 250,000 mile R value, it's still a black swan, even if you, like I said, even if you allow them to beg 7 over 6. You can have it for me. It's getting you nowhere near, still, is it? Absolutely nowhere near. Still destroys the R.
Is there any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's the naturally occurring phenomenon?
There isn't one. It occurs in pseudo-Riemannian 4 space-time, as I described earlier, with the bending geodesics of space-time as a result of the uneven distribution of mass caused by the Big Bang. It's just a fairy tale. There is no physical evidence for gravity. It's just a concept.
Do we have a refracted time now?
No, a geodesic bent in a fourth-dimensional space-time.
bending, space-time, refraction, bending. So are they saying, in another sense, bending is refraction?
I
I don't
bet
know.
they're gonna hop to an ether. They're gonna
Paul,
make ether the next gravity. From
Paul,
Newtonian to pseudo-Ramonian to ether.
Paul speculated that that would happen, and it did. I just can't remember to credit who it occurred with, but when it happened, Paul was in the wings to take the credit and say, no, I said they'd do that. I said that they'd use geodesics in space-time as refraction at some stage, and he was right. They did. And we laughed. Oh, how we laughed. Like we'll laugh when they start claiming light's coming in parallel. To explain how they take the angle from the centre of a sphere Earth off a flat plane, because it matches the celestial sphere model. And why? Well, light's coming in parallel. Oh, right. No 7/6R then. Straight lines of light. Gotcha. So no refraction, ever. Always no Atmo day. It's just such a cluster screw of a mess is the globe at the moment. In 2022, what a mess.
It's just like politics. They have giant piles of paper that say very little, and nobody wants to read it.
It sounds
But they
about
all
right.
just rely on it.
Yeah, but we have, haven't we? We've gone through those boxes that Mark Sargent described.
Yep.
He had a metaphor of day one of flat Earth. You get to the globe and it's a massive empty warehouse. Not an empty warehouse, a massive warehouse with papers in boxes stacked to the roof. It's huge. And you go, oh my God, that's a lot of information. What's this door say? Globe evidence? My God, I've got to pour through all of this. Okay, let's get to it. So you pull the first box off the shelf, open it, and there's nothing in it. So you put it back and go to the next box. And you pull it down and you open it, and there's nothing in that. There's just a massive warehouse full of empty boxes. None of them have got anything in them. Analogous to, well, where is the physical horizon called Earth curve? Well, nobody's claiming the horizon's Earth curve. Oh, right, this is an empty box then. So Earth curve, it says on this box. What's it say inside? Nobody's claiming Earth curve. All right, I'll put that back then. Nothing in it.
Yep.
The parallel sun rays, which don't exist, is key to celestial navigation on a spherical surface for the angles to correspond from the center of the plane of the equator to the tangent plane that they need on top, because they can't use the surface, because you can't get an elevation angle from a curved surface. So I'm telling you, the year of the sun is coming, because that one thing right there will destroy it all.
We're going to run out of time on this live show in case I don't do this plug that I also did in the pre-show, but I want to put out some feelers. If there's a Brit out there that needs a streaming computer, so if you're a flat earther or even an anti-flat earther that needs a streaming computer and you're just a fledgling streamer and you're just using your phone, for the last 6 or 7 years, this computer has served me nicely, but as the show has grown, I've expanded beyond the capabilities of the computer. So after its last repair and slight downgrade, it now is insufficient to run the show and will be replaced. Now, although it hasn't been started, there's a build in progress that was kindly paid for by one of the watchers of the show, along with contributions that will go back to him from GoFundMe. So people have also contributed to this computer. Those funds will go back to that person who's not made of money, but he still did put down the entirety of the money to get it in place and get it being built as we speak. Anyway, that means that once this is replaced, I will be giving it back to the computer shop that's kept it alive throughout the duration of the show and have him virginalize it. In other words, turn it back to Windows 10 with an empty hard drive and basically nothing on it. But that means that I've got, along with other redundant equipment, a Blue Yeti mic, a spare monitor, a spare keyboard that's a little tiny wireless thing, the computer itself, and a camera, a webcam, an old Logitech webcam. So that, in essence, is a complete system. Now, as much as 10th in the pre-show was like, well, wouldn't you prefer to have some redundancy? Well, no, I'd rather give it away to a fledgling streamer that has like Blacksoid, but just in Britain, that's doing it on their phone and could do with a suitable computer to actually do it on OBS and up their game a little bit. But for now, I obviously am using it. It's still here being used. And it won't be coming with a fantastic graphics card because I will be taking that out and putting it to a monitor that I've just purchased on credit. So that will go towards that. But aside from that, it will be virginalized and to the spec that I originally started with. So it'll have an SSD and a spinning hard drive and a copy of Windows and OBS, and basically that's it. So for streaming with a camera and having a show, even with guests, maybe, depending on what you use, it'll be capable of doing that. So for a new streamer, it'll be ideal and return to its original state. So I'm just putting the feelers out at this stage. If you know somebody who's in Britain and could do with a computer, maybe put them in touch with me. So Nathan Oakley 1980 at AOL.com is my email address. Just drop me a line and say, hey, I know this guy, or I am that guy. I need that computer. And just tell me who you are and why you need it. And if you turn out to just be some charlatan hoping to get a computer for free, I'll sniff you out pretty quickly. But the idea is to just give back in the same way someone's given me a computer. Rather than having redundancy, I'd rather spend a few quid, which I've already arranged to do, on it to get it back to a state where it's not got all my crap on it, basically, and with a nice new install of Windows. So it's essentially a new computer to somebody, as that's how a lot of new computers to somebody get sold to them, actually used. Anywho, I just want to put the feelers out. So if you know somebody or you are that person, just drop me a line, and you may be getting a computer in a month or so when I get my new one, along with a mic, a camera, a keyboard, and a monitor. So there we go. We haven't covered all the housekeeping. We've got a couple of minutes left. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
If you're a heliocentrist in that field.
But all those fields are all within the conceptual medium that is based on presupposition, so it could never happen.
You were going to finish, John, if you were a heliocentrist in that field?
Then you would require a radius value that you required from a flat Earth to describe any phenomenon.
You're breaking up.
He said, if you were a heliocentrist, you'd require a R value that was acquired from a flat Earth to make any assertions. I think that was the last bit, or something like that.
Yeah, to describe any phenomenon that happens.
That's the rest. So any claim to be phenomena won't be a physically occurring phenomena if it's in the realm of heliocentrism. It will come with an R value as opposed to a phenomena to make the claimed assertion in heliocentrism, and that R value will have been derived from a flat plane in the first instance. That was the essence of his point.
I thought John came in much clearer.
You're joking? Don't give me that crap right at the end of the live show. I had technical issues yesterday. Okay, any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
There's no way to test that. We have to be contained because there is gas pressure, so the only way to even attempt to test that is to at least use one container.
But if
there was no container, wouldn't the clouds be sucked up?
Yes, they'd go into the sky vacuum by way of a dispersion. Yes. Entropy would take hold, gas would fill the space. However, Arwin, if their claim was true, and we had a natural law violating sky vacuum above our heads, then their claim that there's an entropy violation to have an empty space to make the demonstration would be possible. It isn't because it defies natural law, but their claim defies natural law. Therefore, if their claim was true, they could demonstrate it.
Yeah, but they just settle for, but the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the globe model. So.
Yeah, but the second law of thermodynamics is a natural law. It occurs in our reality. That is the nature that is nature, regardless of what happens in any copy model.
Not anymore.
Go on.
Not anymore. Because it doesn't apply to the globe model.
Well, you can say that natural law doesn't apply to anything you like. If it's not a natural, then who cares? It doesn't apply to He-Man either. You know, entropy's not taking place in Eternia.
Probably not.
He-Man is no longer identifying as he.
No, She-Ra's his sister. That's not a sex change. She-Ra was around while He-Man. I've seen them in the same room.
Right. So now he's they man, and that's okay with this globe.
They man.
Look, as a black transgender Jew, I'm finding all of this highly problematic. I've got to be honest.
Well, as a 10th man, I know they man when I see one.
Oh, better than She-Man and Hera.
Okay, well, on that very distasteful note, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Another huge, massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks button after the fact, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley once again. Stay tuned if you're watching on a programming stream, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!